This meeting is being recorded.
Fancy. All right, guys. Thank you so much. This is the fourth week of our quarantine chats. And so the last quarantine chat that we will have will be next Thursday. We're going to end with Mr. Alan Dickinson Alan Painter from Dickinson College. He's going to talk to you guys about letters and letters of recommendations and essays and all that good stuff. So just some housekeeping information. All of you guys have been on here for a number of times, so you know what to do. You know that you can go into the chat. You can also unmute yourself if you have any questions. And actually our presentation today, there is no PowerPoint, so it's going to be mostly conversation. So definitely if you guys can come off of your mics and ask your questions, that would be great, because it's kind of weird when we're talking and we're not doing a presentation and nobody's talking and we can't see anybody's faces. So if you guys can unmute yourselves to talk, that would be great. But if you don't want to do that, I don't want to get any letters saying I force you to do anything, so you can leave your comments in the chat, okay? And then just two things. Don't forget that the next segment of the PASHE conference, which is the one for the 14 state colleges, they're having their conference tomorrow. So if you guys can go on your Instagram account, I'll try to get that link for you and drop it in the chat so that you guys can get registered. It's on Tuesday at 1 o'clock and then the next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And then there's another link that I'm going to give you guys. There's something called the Virtual College Prep Week, which is going to take place May 25th through the 29th. A friend of mine named Sonia Lewis is running this. And so it's a week-long conference for parents and students. They're going to talk to you guys about financial aid. They're going to talk to you guys about all kinds of college stuff. And actually, I'm going to be a speaker on that conference on Thursday, which is the 28th. So I will post that on Instagram, but I want to make sure that I get some of you guys on there, because even though we've had many speakers going over topics, when you hear different speakers, just like when you hear Mr. Alemo today, he's doing financial aid just like the last two people, but everybody has their own totally different stance on how they're going to talk about their subject. All right. All right. So today, if we can do a drum roll, we have Mr. Joe Alemo from Rosemont College. I met Mr. Alemo probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I do financial aid presentations periodically, and either he's running them or Mr. Felder's running them, or they're running them together. And then we have a couple of groups that we're in together, so we'll run into each other every now and then. So he is the director of financial aid at Rosemont College, which means that he is the big boss there. And so he's going to talk to us about financial aid and award letters and just some other things that he thinks are great things that you need to know. So it's going to be very, very interactive. All right. So I'm going to let Mr. Alemo tell you all these wonderful things about himself. And of course, he'll give us some scoop on Rosemont College as well. So Mr. Alemo, the floor is yours. And thank you so much for talking to our Norristown students today.
Oh, great. Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Thank you very much for letting me participate into your virtual chat. Basically what we want to do is we want to talk about the financial aid process and what to do, when to do it, why to do it, and because to do it. The first thing that you want to make sure you're understanding is financial aid is available to our students to participate and to achieve the goal of attaining a degree at a particular college. In some cases, it's going to pay for most of your aid or your charges, but in most cases, it's only going to cover at least half of it or reduce the cost. So as long as you understand that in most cases, it's not going to take care of everything. There's going to be some out-of-pocket costs depending on the school. I think that takes away a lot of the anxiety that students and parents and families may have as we go through this process. So the first thing that the students have to do is should complete an acceptance letter or an application for acceptance to the particular school that they're looking for. This kind of helps guide us on who the students are that we're going to go ahead and send out an award notification and the information that the students will require in order to determine where they want to decide to enroll in. The next thing that students should do is also complete what is called the FAFSA application. Now, the FAFSA application is the application that comes from the Department of Education that helps determine any financial aid eligibility that a student may have. Now, this application will be available in October of your senior year. So it's not something that you can do now. It is waiting for your application for the October of your senior year, which would be for the next year itself. So once you graduate, and then you'll be applying to financial aid from there. This application will only take information as far as 2 years back, or what they call as prior, as far as financial information from students and or parents, or both, depending on if the parents had filed any tax returns or if the student had filed any tax returns. With this information and with this application, you can put up to 10 different schools on this application. So if there's more than 1 or 2 schools that you're applying to, in some cases we do have students who are applying to 5 or 6 different schools. You should only complete 1 application and then submit all your the school codes that the student is looking to apply to. Prior to completing this application, the student and a parent should request what is called a PIN number or a student ID and password. This will help you submit this application online, because this is an online application, and you're going to be submitting this virtually online, which makes it a lot easier to process and makes it quicker to process. You can submit the application via paper, but I'm going to tell you that it's going to take a lot longer for the schools to receive it and to be able to process it. So an example, if you do this online, the application turnaround time will be about 72 hours before the school will receive the information. And then once we verify that the student has been accepted to the college or to the university, then an award letter will go out. If you do it via paper, it takes actually 4 to 6 weeks for it to be processed. And then after that, then it's going to take some time for us to go ahead and send out the award notification. So you want to make sure you try to do this online. If there's any issues for whatever reason that you can't get the FSA ID and password, then I would suggest is to contact the schools that you're looking at applying to and explain what the situation is, and they can walk you through that process to help expedite it so we can get these applications completed. So once you've submitted the application and you've added all the school codes that are on there, the student will receive what is called a student aid report, or an SAR. And that's basically regurgitating all of the information that's on the FAFSA, and we're requesting students to review the information to make sure that they haven't made any mistakes, they haven't transposed any numbers or anything to that effect, just to make sure it's accurate. If everything is accurate, then what I suggest to a lot of families is to create a folder. And with that, you want to print it out or put a folder on your desktop or someplace where you know where it is, and you can just put that information right into your folder, because you may need this information as we move forward. There may be times where you have to make some corrections, or if you choose to add another school, say you decided late you wanted to apply to a school that was never on your radar, but now all of a sudden it is, you can go back to that student aid report and add the particular school code that you're looking to and resubmit the information. If there are any changes that have to be made, you transpose the number. In some cases, you're not looking at what your social security number is, and you thought you knew what it was, and you transpose the number, and it comes over, and everything seems to be voided, and nothing seems to be syncing. It'll explain what the process is to make sure you make any corrections, so you can resubmit the FAFSA, and then we would get the corrected information. If for some reason you do have some information and you just can't figure out how to make any of those changes, call the school. We'll take a look at the information. If it's something that we can make a change to on your behalf, we'd be more than happy to. but in some cases we may not to, so we would have to advise you to go back to FAFSA, possibly even give them a call and verify what that information is so that you can update the information. Once you receive that student aid, go ahead.
If you can hold on one second. So do you guys so far have any questions regarding what he talked about so far? You can either put it in the chat or preferably unmute yourself, because this is some detailed information that we didn't receive before. We just kind of got a gloss before.
When you submit it, does it and you write the schools on it, does it just go directly to all of the schools, or do you have to send it to the schools, or how does the process of getting it to the schools work?
That's a good question. So on the application, what it requests is, it requests what is called a school code. It's a 6-digit code that each school is representative through the Department of Education. So for instance, for Rosemont, our school code is 003360. So that represents Rosemont College through the Department of Education. So when you complete the application, you're going to go ahead and put in all the different school codes that you're looking at going to, depending on the school that you're applying to, whether it's a Rosemont, Westchester, Villanova, St. Joe's, whatever schools that you're looking to. And what happens is when you hit submit, you'll get a response back from the Department of Education basically saying, thank you for submission. We're in the process of completing your application. If there's anything we'll need, we'll send you an email. And then automatically, all of that information will go to all the different schools that you listed on there. So if you're looking at more than 10 schools, and we do have some students who are really ambitious and really want to apply to more than one school, what'll happen is, what I suggest is you put in your top 10 schools, add the information, submit it, wait till everything seems to be processed, and then you can go back in and you start from the bottom up. And you want to take off the schools that you possibly to add in whatever the additional schools are. So if you wanted to add in 3 more schools, you start from the bottom, take the bottom 3 off, put your next 3 on, and then resubmit the application so the school would receive that request.
Did that answer your question, Layla?
Yeah, it did. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions before we move on? Okay. All right, so you submitted the application. You've added your school codes onto this FAFSA, and now it's a matter of the schools receiving the information. So what happens is, on the school side, as we're waiting for the FAFSA information to come in, we put together what is called an expected, or I shouldn't say expected, what is called a budget or a cost of attendance. And on this cost of attendance, it will tell you guesstimation-wise as far as what your costs are going to be for tuition, fees, room and board if you're going to be living on campus, what your estimate for books, supplies, and maybe any miscellaneous expenses. Now, not everything is going to be charged by the school. These are just a budget, if you want to call it that we are anticipating what one academic year of schooling is received. In the meantime, as we're receiving this FAFSA information, the FAFSA will tell you exactly what is called, they gave us a number, what is called the expected family contribution. So based on this expected family contribution, or EFC, it will tell you, based on the information that's on the FAFSA, how much out of pocket a family could pay for potentially one academic year of school, okay? So it's just a guide as far as the information that's on this FAFSA. In some cases, it's gonna say that, there's, based on this information, students may not have to pay anything out of pocket. But then in most cases, it's gonna say, you may have to pay, say, $2,000 out of pocket or $3,000 out of pocket. But just remember that it's a guideline. And it's a guideline that schools will use to help us determine what your financial aid package is gonna look like. So we received the FAFSA, we've put together that cost of attendance, or that budget. And basically what we do is we take our cost of attendance, or our budget, we subtract that expected family contribution, and we give you what is called our remaining need. And that's basically telling us how much financial aid that we can offer you. Now, schools will have different ways of how they calculate all that. So it's going to vary from school to school. So let's keep that in mind as we move forward. And as we talk at the end, we'll have a good way of how to try to compare apples to apples as you're receiving this award notification. So we received the FAFSA. We've determined what the aid eligibility is for our students. And then from there, we go ahead and start sending out the award notification to all the students who have been accepted to our particular college or university. With that award notification in there, it's going to tell you what you qualify for, any grants, scholarships, work study, and we'll talk a little bit about that, and any loan funds that you may qualify for, okay? So grants and scholarships. So basically, as we look at it, it's our free money. Monies that are used for students to help pay for educational costs, but don't have to be repaid or have to be paid back at any point in time. That include the Pell Grant, the FIA State Grant, which comes from our state agency. If you go to a private school and you qualify for a merit scholarship based on your grades or GPA or SAT and ACT scores, it could be funds that come from the institution as well. So there's quite a few of dollars that are available out there. And like I said, it's free money, so it's money that does not have to be paid back. Work study. So work study are funds that come from the Department of Education that are not used to help pay for any educational costs, but it's monies that students can earn by getting a part-time job on campus. So basically, you're getting a part-time job on campus. You can earn up to whatever the dollar amount that you've been awarded. You can use it to help pay for education costs, but in essence, you should be using it to help pay for, you know, any incidentals as you're going through the course of the semester or the academic year. You want to take a look at, you know, you could use it to help pay for pizza as you're doing study groups, things like that. And then we have loans. And with loans, these are funds that come from the Department of Education, but are not funds that are free. It's basically funds that you have to pay back once you stop attending. Now, there are two different types of loans. There's a subsidized loan and an unsubsidized loan, okay? Both work the same way. Both accrue interest on a daily basis. The difference between the two is for the subsidized loan, as interest is accruing while you're enrolled in school, the Department of Education will pay for that interest. Your unsubsidized loan is that interest accrues daily, but you are responsible for that interest to pay back 6 months after you stop attending, okay? So basically what you need to take a look at is, you know, of the loans, is it funds that you should be requiring to take, or are they funds that you could take or shouldn't take? So that's a conversation that you would have with the school once you verify what the costs are going to be. So once you receive that award notification, you're going to start receiving more than one, because if you're applying to more than one school and get accepted, and you've added the school code on your FAFSA, you will receive all these different types of award notifications. And the basic thing that you want to take a look at, as you're receiving these award notifications, you don't want to take a look at the dollar amount that you're receiving from each school. And the reason why I say that, and it sounds kind of funny, but the reason why I say that is you have to remember that not every school costs the same. You know, a Rosemont College to a Villanova, a Rosemont College to CCP, or even a Paschy school, Westchester, or any of those types of schools. So all our costs are a little bit different. So the aid sources may be a little bit different. In some cases, they may be the same. Your Pell Grant may be the same. Your loans will be the same. But if you're receiving merit scholarship, it may be a little bit more than, say, another school, because their costs may be a little bit higher. So what you want to do as you're receiving these award notifications, you want to take a look at what the bottom line is. So you take a look at what your costs are, and you want to look at the direct costs, only what you're going to be charged from the school. I mentioned to you earlier that cost of attendance or the budget. The main amounts that you should be looking at, if you're living on campus, tuition and fees, room and board. If you're going to commute from home, then you're basically looking at tuition and fees. So you want to take a look at what those charges are going to be from the school, minus the financial aid, and that will give you the remaining need or whatever it's going to cost out of your pocket to attend that academic year at that particular school, okay? In some cases, it's going to be pretty close. Even though one school may be giving you a lot more in merit scholarship, as I mentioned, their cost may be a little bit higher. So that's why they're giving you more merit scholarship. So once all the combination of all the different aid sources, then your out-of-pocket may be about the same as you would have another school itself. So that's what you want to take a look at as you're looking at that. And then what are your options from there?
May I interject for a second?
Go right ahead.
If you guys can put in the chat and let us know if you are clear on what room and board is. So he can go yes, no, or kinda. So if you guys can put in the chat about what you think room and board is, if you have a clear understanding. So yes, no, or kinda. So we got a yes. And it's okay if you don't. That's why we're on these things, because we want to learn.
Yep.
And even I know most of the topics that we talked about, but depending on the perspective of the speaker, I learned something to take notes on every presentation. Okay, so we got 2 yeses. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Okay, we got another yes. Okay.
Okay. All right, great. So now that you received the award notifications, now what you're going to take a look at is, okay, you've decided what school is going to be your best fit. And that's the whole process, is what is going to be the best fit for you to achieve that goal of getting that degree and getting that dream job that you've been looking for, okay? So as of right now, because of the pandemic and we're all kind of sitting at home working from home and doing schoolwork from home, most of the schools have changed their deadline to June 1st rather than May 1st deadline. So you want to take a look at, you know, what schools you're looking at applying to once you get to that point. And once you decide what school you're going to go to, then you go ahead and submit your deposit based on the school. It could work from, you know, $0 to $500 or even more, depending on that school. So depending on the school you want to attend, you know, you have to determine what that deposit is going to be. But you want to take a look at what is going to be the best fit. You know, so if you're not sure, and say out-of-pocket costs are about the same, then what you might want to take a look at doing is maybe create a spreadsheet for yourselves. You know, the do's and the don'ts for the particular school that you're looking for, or what you are looking for. An example, I have a former boss of mine. Her daughter was looking at going either to Westchester or Chestnut Hill. And basically what they did was she created a spreadsheet and basically said what are the likes and dislikes that you like for both of the schools. You know, one school there was a lot of green space, where the other school didn't have as much green space. Both schools had access to the city, and that was a big thing for her, is that she wanted to be close to the city, you know, where it wasn't impossible for her to be there, but it was close enough that she could do that. And then eventually she worked her way and worked her way going to Westchester, and she absolutely loved it there. And it was the best fit for her herself. So once you've decided what school you're looking at going to, then it's a matter of, okay, so you have this out of pocket cost, and what are the chances and what are the options that you have to help cover that cost? The first thing that we're always going to tell you to do is, you know, your bill is, here's your due date, here's what your balance is, go ahead and pay that balance. In most cases, a lot of students take a look at that, or parents take a look at that and say, yeah, I can't do that. So schools do offer what is called a payment plan. And what that payment plan is basically taking that remaining balance and dividing it into monthly installments. In some cases, it's 5 months. In other cases, it's 6 months, per semester. So if that's something that's doable, then by all means, then you go ahead and sign up for the payment plan. They'll extract that payment out of whatever account you have set up, and then you make your remaining balance payment out of that to cover that remaining balance. But if you take a look at that and you can't pay it off up front, and you can't do the payment plan, it's just not doable based on financial information, parents can apply for what is called a Parent Plus loan. And this is a loan that's in the parent's name to help the students cover any remaining balances that they may have. It's up to the parents to go ahead and complete that. So with that FSA ID and password that they received to sign the FAFSA earlier, they can use that to apply for the Parent Plus loan. When they apply for the Parent Plus loan, they'll go ahead and put in a dollar amount that they're requesting in order to cover the remaining balance. If they get approved, they'll go ahead and complete the process, complete the master promissory note, and any other paperwork that needs to be completed. If they get denied for whatever the reason is, then students are eligible for an additional loan to help cover some of those costs, okay? So, just because there's a balance out there, there are different options out there, okay? And the other option would be is that, and we have parents who decide, what, this is not something that I want to do, or I feel that it's the student's education, so it's their responsibility to help cover that gap, that remaining balances, which we have. Students can apply for what is called an alternative loan or a private loan. It is based on credit, so it would be going to like a Sallie Mae, PNC Bank, any of those private lenders. But because it is based on credit, and a lot of our students don't have enough credit or even established credit, then they would need a cosigner, whether it's going to be a parent or a family member or a family friend who's willing to do that. So that's some of the different options that you have to help cover some of the remaining balances that you have. As you're going through go ahead.
2 questions. One, can you explain to the students what a cosigner is? And then the second question is, if you're going to do a payment plan, is there like a fee that you have to pay, and what would be like a minimum that you would have to use to start it?
Right. So for a payment plan, it depends on the school, and usually there's a one-time processing fee, and that's going to vary from school to school, and that can be from $25 to $100 depending on the school. So that's a one-time fee that will happen in the first installment so if your installment is $200 a month, that first payment will be your $200 payment plus your processing fee of $50, we'll say. And then the next installment would be $200 and then $2 until you pay it off. As far as cosigners, I mentioned that in the alternative loan process. So a cosigner is a U.S. citizen who has enough established credit, and it's basically you're being approved based on their credit, which means that if you fail to make any payments, then the cosigner will also fail about making payments, or they'd be responsible for making payments. So we try not to use the alternative loans as much as you can. I know sometimes it's one of those necessary evils, but that cosigner would also be responsible for the loan if the student chooses not to make the payments or can't make the payments. So it's the student's responsibility to make sure that they're on top of either making payments or talking to that particular lender and figuring out what the best way is to help the student make those payments so the cosigner does not get penalized or responsible for the particular loan. Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions about those payment options before Mr. Alemo moves on? I know you guys are a sophisticated group, but we don't want to assume that everybody.
Yeah, we
everybody
never
has it.
assume. Never assume.
Grown up
Okay.
conversation here.
There you go. There you go. Okay. So here's the next things that you should be looking at doing. Some of you may have a good idea of what you want to do or have a good idea of where you want to attend. But what I'm going to suggest to you is to, look at all your different options. Don't just kind of pinhole yourself into, one or two schools. Look at everything that you can. I know a couple weeks ago, Mr. Felder did a presentation, and I know he had some links and websites that he, I'm sure, probably discussed with you as far as, how to pick a school, where to pick a school, how to pick a major, things like that. But what you want to do is once you figure out what you want to do or what schools you want to look at, obviously you can't do a school visit at this point in time. Most of the schools are closed. Everything is online, so the schools are closed, but we're still functioning. I always suggest to students, regardless of what we're going through now or in the future, go onto their website. Take a look at their website. So the first thing you want to take a look at is most schools have some sort of a virtual tour. So you get an idea of what the school looks like virtually, based on what they have available. And then take a look at what is called, and it's usually on their financial aid page, is take a look at what is called the net price calculator. So each school has to participate in this and have what is called a calculator. And this kind of helps determine, give you an estimate of what the cost is going to be and what the financial aid package will be currently, okay? Obviously, it's not going to be what you're going to pay, it's an estimate. So, but at least gives you an idea of the information that you have based on family income, student income, what your GPA is, if you've taken the SAT or ACT, what that score will be, your overall academics, and that will give you a guesstimation as far as, what the cost is going to be or what your out-of-pocket is going to be. So it's a good way to help get an idea. Okay, so again, it's an estimate. So this is not written in stone, but at least it's an estimate, and it gives you an idea of where you're going from here, as you progress through your high school career, juniors, and then start seeing, seniors. Hopefully, once the schools are back up and running, and there's a lot of activities, then we're going to encourage you to do a lot of school visits as much as you can. Go out and to visit the schools, whether it's through an open house or some sort of event that the school is presenting to the student or to the students. But the other thing that I suggest to a lot of students, and I've talked a lot about this earlier, is sometimes you should just go to the school just to do a quick visit. You don't have to schedule anything, okay? Because when you go to an open house, you're seeing, and I hate to say it this way, but we all do this. You see the dog and pony show. We show you everything that's good about the school, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes we suggest that, again, once you can get onto campuses, is kind of do a school visit. Just kind of show up. Go to a day where there are students and just kind of walk around the campus just to see what the campus looks like. And then stop into the admissions office, and just say, hey, I just happened to be in the area. I wanted to, take a look at what's going on. And you're going to see, and you should see this, is the same, what's the word I want to use? It's the same enthusiasm that you would see in an open house would be in the time that you just kind of walked in, okay? The other thing that I would suggest you do, again, once we're back onto campus, is see if you can do a sit-in on a class. What's a class look like? See if you can get that scheduled. And most admissions office will be able to pull that off for you. And you'll be able to go in, sit in on a class, and then have a conversation with admissions after that. And just kind of say, okay, is this a right fit for me? Is this something that I could do for 4 years as we move forward from there? Okay? Questions?
And just to add, the comment that I put in the chat, even as 10th graders, you guys can go on the net price calculator on any school page that you're interested in, because every school now has to have one. And you can just try to do a forecast of what, your cost will be. Of course, your cost will change between now and when you go to school, but, to kind of give you a little rough idea. And so that way you and your parents can sit down and have realistic conversations about what you guys can and cannot afford. And I know parents don't like to talk about money, and we tell you guys to mind your business and stuff like that. But there's a lot of seniors that end up crying right now because they didn't have conversations with their parents about what they could and could not afford. All right. So that way you guys can get some rough numbers and then talk to your parents about those numbers.
Yeah. And also have different options. We've had students who, this was the school that I want to go to, and no ifs, ands, or buts. And, finally parents have that conversation, as Ms. Mitchell had said, that, maybe they can't afford that. And that was the only school that they had. But what are your other options? You want to make sure you have all your options open, because, what you think is the real place that you want to be that's going to help you achieve the goal, sometimes they may not be that. And then you end up going to a different school, which gets you more information and gets you a better way of getting that degree, and then also getting that dream job that you're looking for.
All right, guys, what other questions do you have? You normally are a chatty group. I know last week and this week, you guys have been very quiet. So you can unmute yourselves, or you can put your question in the chat and we can read them out loud. Because this college financial aid stuff is the main thing that students don't grasp or skip over. And you want to make sure you can get it as close to correct as possible. This is part of College Fit. We had somebody do College Fit last week. So this is like one of the most important parts of College Fit. Well, you must be doing a great job, Mr. Animal.
Well, I hope so. So I'm going to tell you that if you do have questions after, you can post my email address. You're more than welcome to send me an email. Just remind me where we had this conversation, because I do see a lot of students, and sometimes I get students who don't leave their names or anything to that effect. But you're more than welcome to send me questions, and I can answer questions for you. The only thing you just have to be reminded is I can give you specific information about Rosemont. I can give you general information about financial aid in general. So if you're asking for a specific school, you need to reach out to that school and ask the questions from there. I can't give you specifics from those particular schools.
Are you able to talk to them? Oh, somebody has a question. Go ahead.
Could you talk a little more about Rosemont, like as a whole?
As a whole, okay. As a whole, the one thing that I have to tell you about Rosemont, and it's not for everybody, but if you see the tagline, "The Power of Small," that is literally Rosemont College. Rosemont College is a very intimate school, very small. And I'm going to tell you that we know just about every student that walks onto campus. And if for some reason I have a question, I'm trying to reach out to a student and they're not responding to my emails or my phone calls, I know I can reach out to somebody, a faculty member or another staff member, and say, hey, look, I'm looking for so-and-so. Can you please direct me to them to my office, or at least respond to my email so we can have this conversation. So Rosemont is a great school for those students who are looking for that one-on-one basis. You're going to some of these big schools, sometimes you are a number. And at Rosemont College, we are not a number. We are an individual, and you have that accent to have that information. I can tell you this. On Wednesday, I think it's Wednesday, this Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we are doing an accepted student day. So there may be a possibility that you guys may be able to log in to see some of that information, but I'm not sure. but we will also be doing an open house fairly soon, and it's all, again, virtual. So you'll be able to log in and you'll be able to, speak to me and to the other faculty and staff members and get a better idea of Rosemont. Any other questions?
Wow.
Okay, well, if you can give them my email address, and like I said, if they have questions, they're more than welcome to send me questions or emails after we're done.
Okay, guys. So no more questions. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay.
Oh.
Well, so I just put a couple of links in your chat. One just won't go in. I don't know why. I did put the link for Rosemont College there. I didn't put the exact link in there to get to the financial aid office. What is your email address?
My email address is Joseph, JOSEPH, Alaimo, ALAIMO, at rosemont.edu.
Okay, so I'll at least put that in the chat.
Okay. And if you go to the main page of the Rosemont website, it'll be there'll be a section in there for new students, and then if you click the box, you'll see financial aid, and you can click onto that and move forward from there.
And so, guys, just make sure that you take advantage of these opportunities when our speakers are telling us to contact them. They seriously mean that. It's not like they're gonna tell you to contact you and then they're gonna kind of disappear and act like they don't see your email. So Mr. Alaimo will definitely respond to your email. I also put a link in there for you guys to make sure that you sign up for the PASHE joint recruitment presentation. That's what I was talking to you guys about last week, and I've been posting it on Instagram for the last 2 weeks. And so all 14 public colleges have been having presentations every Tuesday. So I went to one of them and it was really good. So it's tomorrow at 1 o'clock and then next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And for some reason, I can't get the link to go in here, so I'll put it on Instagram. You also want to sign up for the virtual college prep week, which is next week from Monday through Friday. Invite your parents. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. And so there's going to be a number of speakers on this conference to talk to you guys all about college. And I will actually be a speaker on that Thursday night. So this is a great opportunity to get your parents to plug in and get as much free information as possible. Mr. Felder will be back on there next week. If you guys are associated with Montco, Ms. Henderson, Dr. Henderson from Montco will be there. And there's one other person, Mr. Craig Smith from Montco. Dr. Craig Smith will also be there as well. And so it's a great opportunity for your parents and yourselves to get some extra information. All right. So on behalf of the students of Norristown, we'd like to thank Mr. Alaimo very much for coming on and sharing his time with us to give us information about financial aid. So if you guys can either unmute yourselves or send your usual lovely salutations in the chat. So we said, thank you so much for the information. And actually, before you guys sign off, if you guys can put in the chat one thing that you learned today or one thing that you received more clarity on today. So if you can put that in the chat. Anytime we do a presentation, we want to make sure you at least learn one new thing.
I can say it. I learned like how the applications go like directly to the schools.
Good.
Okay. Did someone put in the chat that they learned what a cosigner was?
That's good.
And you guys will also learn about cosigners that most people will not cosign for you.
Mm-mm.
I'm one of those people. I'm not gonna do it. Nope. Because people get burned too much with that.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody else, one thing that you learned today or that you received more clarity on? There's 3 more people in here. Don't make me stalk you. Or start calling names. Maybe they're multitasking right now.
Either that or they fell asleep.
No, they didn't fall asleep.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, more information. So she learned more information about the loans and different types of loans. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much. And
You're welcome.
enjoy the rest of your day, Mr. Alamo. I'm sure I'll see you again sometime this week or next.
I'm sure our paths will cross again.
All right. So thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Appreciate it. You too. Take care.